You know, there are shows we watch, and then there are the ones that stay with us. Not just because they were good, but because they felt true. Little House on the Prairie was one of those shows. I remember watching it as a kid, curled up, on the couch, the harmonica playing, that opening scene of Charles and Laura walking across the field. And something about it just settled me. It wasn't flashy. There were no special effects, no big explosions, just a family. A house, a life built on hard work, love, and doing the right thing, even when it hurt, and I didn't realize it then. But that show was shaping me. More than cartoons, more than action shows. More than anything, Little House taught me what it meant to be kind, to stand up for someone, to say sorry, to keep going when things got tough. And I know I'm not the only one. Millions of people, across generations, feel the same way. Because Little House wasn't just a TV show, it was a home. And even though the final episode aired over 40 years ago, its legacy isn't fading. If anything, it's stronger than ever. So today, I want to talk about that legacy. Not just what the show was, but what it became. In our hearts, in our families, in the world. Because the truth is, Little House didn't end when the cameras stopped. It just kept going. Let's start with what made it so different. Back in the 70s, most TV shows were about drama or comedy or crime. But Little House? It was about values. Simple ones, honest ones. Like, work hard, take care of your family, be fair, help your neighbor. Charles Ingalls didn't carry a gun to solve problems. He carried a shovel. He carried patience. He carried love. And week after week, we watched him live by a code that felt rare, even back then. But it wasn't just Charles. It was the whole family. Caroline, strong and steady, raising her kids with quiet strength. Mary, losing her sight but never her dignity. Laura, fiery and curious, always asking, why? And even Nellie Olson, yes, her, taught us something. That pride can hurt. That kindness matters more than being right. The show didn't shy away from hard things. I mean, think about it. They dealt with blindness, deafness, poverty, racism, terminal, illness, and they didn't treat these like side stories. They gave them full episodes. Real emotion, real pain. I still remember watching I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away, the one about the little girl dying of cancer. I was young. I didn't know what cancer was, but I knew that scene, where the family throws her a party and she opens a locket, with a picture of all of them. Broke my heart, and it wasn't just sad, it was beautiful, because it showed that even in loss, there's love, and that stuck with me. For years. Maybe that's why so many people say, that show raised me. Because it did, it really did, and a big part of that was Michaellandon. Now, we all know him as Charles Ingalls. But behind the scenes, he was the heart and soul of the whole thing. He didn't just act, he directed, he produced. He wrote many of the episodes, especially the tough ones, and he fought for them. The network didn't always want to do an episode about a blind child, or a deaf boy, or a town divided by hate. But Landon said, we're doing it, because he believed TV could do more than entertain. It could teach and heal. I read once that a little girl wrote to him. She was in a wheelchair, and she felt like her life was over. So Landon showed up at her hospital, in character, as Charles Ingalls. He sat with her, talked to her, told her she was brave. And that moment, it changed her life. That's not just a celebrity being nice, that's someone who truly believed in the message of the show, and he lived it. Even in the final years, when he knew the show was ending, He didn't go out with a flashy finale. He did The Last Farewell, where the whole town burns down to protest a corrupt land baron. No one wins, but they stand together, and Charles says, "Some things are worth losing for." That line? That's the whole point of Little House. It's not about winning. It's about doing what's right, even if it costs you everything. And that's a lesson that doesn't expire. Now, the show ended in 1983, but the legacy, that didn't end. It just spread. Because people kept watching, and not just the original fans, their kids, their grandkids. Even people in other countries, who've never seen a Prairie, watch it and say, "I get it," because it's not really about the past. It's about how we treat each other. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a show where a father teaches his son to say, "I'm sorry," or where a mother comforts her daughter by saying, "You're safe, I'm here," or where a community comes together to help someone in need? No questions asked. We don't see that much anymore, but Little House showed it. Week after week, and it made us believe it was possible. Now, look at the cast. What happened to them after the show? Melissa Gilbert, Laura, didn't just disappear. She became president of the Screen Actors Guild. She fought for child actors. She opened up about her health, epilepsy, heart surgery, and helped others feel less alone. She said once, "I spent my life trying to live up to Laura." And isn't that something? The character shaped the person. Not the other way around. Catherine McGregor, Harriet Olsen, lived a quiet life, never married, never sought the spotlight, but she never disowned her role. She said, "People think Harriet was just mean," but she was scared. She was trying to protect her family the only way she knew how. And that's deep, because even the villain had a heart. And Melissa Sue Anderson, Mary, became a writer, an artist, and a thinker. She wrote a memoir that wasn't just about the show. It was honest about the pressure, the loneliness, the cost of fame, and fans loved her even more for it, because she was real, just like the show. And that's the thing. Little House didn't pretend life was easy. It showed the storms, the losses, the cold winters, but it also showed the fire in the stove, the song at bedtime, the hand on the shoulder, the "I love you" whispered in the dark. And that balance between hardship and hope is what made it last, because life isn't all sunshine, but it's not all darkness either, and Little House reminded us of that. Now, today, you'll find parents playing episodes for their kids, teachers using it in classrooms, adults rewatching it when they're stressed or sad, and fans writing letters, actual letters, to the cast, saying, "Thank you. You were my family when I didn't have one." And that breaks my heart, in the best way, because that's not just a TV show, that's love. Real, lasting, quiet love. And in a world that feels so loud, so divided, so fast, that kind of love is a refuge. I've talked to people who say they watch Little House when they can't sleep, or when they're grieving, or when they just need to remember that good people still exist. And I get it, because when I watch it now, I don't just see a story, I see a promise. That kindness matters. That family is worth fighting for. That you can lose everything. Your home, your health, your money. But as long as you have love, you're not poor. And that's a message we need now more than ever. We live in a time of noise, of anger, of everything being about me, me, me. And Little House says gently, what if we cared more about us? What if we helped? What if we listened? What if we just showed up? Charles didn't give big speeches. He fixed the roof. He held Caroline's hand. He hugged his kids, and in those small acts, he taught us everything. So, what's the best legacy of Little House on the Prairie? It's not the ratings, it's not the spin-offs, It's not the merchandise or the reunions. It's this: that for 9 years, a TV show reminded us of what really matters, and millions of people, you, me, our parents, our kids, carried that with us. We became a little kinder, a little braver, a little more willing to do the right thing, even when no one was watching. And that's how legacies grow, not in headlines, but in hearts. So the next time you see that opening scene, Charles and Laura walking across the field, don't just see a show, see a choice, a decision, made by Michael Landon, by the cast, by the writers, to believe in goodness, and a decision by all of us to keep believing. Because the Prairie never really ended. It's still out there in every act of kindness, in every family dinner, in every time someone says, "I'm here for you." Little House didn't end. It just changed form, and as long as we keep living its values, it never will. So thank you, Little House, for the stories, for the tears, for the hope, and for reminding us, again and again, that the simplest things are often the most important. Family, faith, still love, and the courage to be good. In a world that doesn't always make it easy. That's the legacy. And it's one worth passing on.